Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Fast am I. Good evening. It's 5:30. This is Update for Wednesday, 16th of August 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the Isle of Man. Background to that news, we've got sport and business and Sea Watch and travel updates and the newsmakers in person this evening. Inflation's down to a 19-month low. The Manx herring industry refires again in September. Is the DOI taking people's rights away? The Ravens are in action in Derbyshire this evening, and 18 months on, Lockie Kirk could be home for his birthday.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Fastamai Chanel Suku.
Fastamai. Consumer inflation on the Isle of Man is at a 19-month low, standing at 5.8% for July. Food and non-alcoholic drinks are the biggest contributor, with pork seeing the highest rise compared with 12 months ago. A ship which has left the Ukrainian port of Odessa after being trapped there since February last year is part-owned by Bernard Schultz Ship Management, a company that has a base in the Isle of Man. And Castletown Town Commissioners will hold an open-air screening of the FIFA Women's World Cup final in Market Square on Sunday. The commissioners say it's likely coverage will begin from 10 a.m, but residents can keep updated by following the town's Facebook page. In international news, the King has sent a message of congratulations to the Lionesses after they beat Australia 3-1 to reach the World Cup final for the first time. The Killers have apologized for offending fans in Georgia after inviting a Russian supporter on stage during a concert in the country. And a documentary about Prince Harry's Invictus Games has a release date. It'll be on Netflix in a couple of weeks' time on the 30th of August. Those were your headlines. News at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goromaya, thank you. Chanel from the Ronaldsway Met Office. Well, what you see is what you get. No wind warning for the North Irish Sea. State of sea is smooth or slight. Gorgeous tonight. Dry and sunny and a light breeze. And minimum 14 degrees through the night. For Thursday, tomorrow, dry and fine in a moderate easterly. Highest temperatures 21 degrees down to 14 through the night. For Friday, Jehenia, a dry start, then rain arriving on a strong easterly. Highest temperature 19 degrees. Tide still on the way out. Low waters at 20 to 7. Sunset 13 minutes to 9 tonight. High tide 17 minutes before 1 a.m. Sunrise 2 minutes to 6 tomorrow morning. And low waters at 20 past 7. And tomorrow morning, the MV Manxman is let loose finally at 8:45.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Consumer inflation in the Isle of Man is at a 19-month low, standing at 5.8% for July, down from 6.9% the month before. Here's Manx Radio's Christian Jones.
Food and non-alcoholic drinks are the biggest contributor, with pork seeing the highest rise of 34.6% compared with 12 months ago. Essentials like electricity, eggs, sugar and butter are some of the biggest contributors, with electricity rising by as much as 34.8%. Restaurants and hotels hold the second largest increase, and alcohol and tobacco are in third. Meanwhile, oil and other fuels fell by the most at 27.5%, while petrol and gas also seeing drops. In comparison to 12 months prior, education is down by 9.9%, clothing and footwear is up by 1.3%, health also remains up at 5.1%, while recreation and culture also see rises of 8.8%.
It's likely the resumption of the Manx herring fishery in September will be led by 3 Manx vessels. It's the first opportunity for decades for the fleet to diversify and to end their resilience on shellfish. Dr. Michelle Haywood, MHK, a political member for the department, says 50,000 of the 150,000 set aside by DEFRA to help fishermen make the changes has already been claimed.
The fishery actually doesn't start until September anyway. We need to wait for the herring to arrive to be able to go and fish them. So the boats are kind of gearing up towards that target, really. It's more likely to be, I think, the end of September before the first boats go out. So they've got time to get themselves set up. The quota was given to us on the basis that the British said they might take it back if we didn't use it. So we have got a rising quota, and obviously they're allowing us some time to get our kind of feel for the fishery again and to make sure that we can get that quota in. We're looking for, I think the fishery's changed a little bit from what it used to be. We're looking for sort of really sort of efficient and sustainable practices in terms of the fishing. So the gear type has changed slightly from what even some of the older fishermen would recognise. And I think we hope that more vessels become engaged in the fishery as we go into the future. I think initially it's as I say, it's kind of finding your feet, and it's about the fishermen learning a new way of fishing for a species that they don't normally catch. So we kind of always knew that it was going to be a let's tread carefully and let's see where we get to, but with the prospect that the fishery can return to a much greater level in the future. I think all fishermen are aware of the needs to sort of like diversify and to make sure that we've got as sustainable practice in as we can. So if fishermen are able to catch different species in different parts of the year and in different seasons, then that allows us to spread that load out and to make fishing boats reasonably efficient and effective.
If you have a news story for Manx Radio to investigate and report, email newsroom@manxradio.com or call 682 631 any time of day or night.
After a hard-fought win at the weekend, FC Alaman now face 4 straight away games in the NWCFL Premier Division, starting at Glossop North End in Derbyshire, kicking off at 7:45 tonight. The Ravens boss Paul Jones explains what qualities his side had in the victory over Padiham last Saturday that they can take into tonight's game.
Certainly a patient and disciplined performance, get a good foundation into the game, let our qualities take over at the right times and in the right moments. So, I think we approached the game better as a group on Saturday, and although we went a goal down, I don't feel we deserved to be down, but you don't always get what you deserve in a game, and that could have led to the players and all of us kind of getting our heads down a little bit and going on and not finishing the game off properly. But the opposite was true, and that kind of galvanised everybody a little bit more and gave them an extra little bit of a lift. And we played ever so well in the second half. Even though I thought we played really well in the first half, it was a much more contained and disciplined performance. And in the second half, we our energy and fitness and qualities when the game opened up a little bit really kind of came to the fore. So, I'm hoping that we see another disciplined and patient performance that means we're in the game for as long as possible. And then, our quality in the final third hopefully will see us through. From my point of view, I would like to see us maintain a little bit more control and discipline and patience, especially when we haven't got the ball. Because if we run around in ones and twos, the teams we're playing against are good enough to pick us off. So, and I felt that's what we kind of got sucked back into again against Litherland. So I'd like to hopefully we can go the same again. There's not too many changes from the team, let alone the squad from Saturday. So, it's the group of players that hopefully can go and develop on what they did Saturday and build on it really, and hopefully be dominant in the opposite half of the pitch. But if we can't do that because they're a really good side, then we're solid and secure and ready to take our moments when they come.
Residents from the south of the Isle of Man have accused the Department of Infrastructure of taking away everyone's rights. The claims came at a public meeting at Arbury Parish Hall last night, where members of the DOI met with the community to discuss plans for a path in Ballacannel. Our local democracy reporter Emma Draper spoke to Commissioners Jane Glover and first Kiri Jenkins.
Basically, Ballacannel is the link between Erystane and the Slough, so Upper Scard and Linnaig. And cutting this part off the highway breaks that link and breaks that ancient right that we've all had. So this comes about a few years ago when new owners moved in, and they wanted to closed the access. And there's been a long, protracted correspondence with attempted footpath diversions. And ultimately, the DOI has decided that rather than following the legislation and closing a highway through an order, that they wouldn't recognise there was a highway in the first place. Obviously, we would want the status quo to have been maintained because we've all had this right. This right goes back several hundred years, goes back to the time of the asylum plans, the quarterland roads. But the way it's been done, we're now being forced into a public inquiry so that we then have to present our evidence and fight to get that right back. I know the owners of Ballacannel are in a very difficult position, but this is not personal. This is all about the rights of residents who've enjoyed this for a long time, and there is nothing personal or animosity towards the actual residents who are living there.
Commissioner Jane Glover says it worries her on an all-island level.
This is very much back to front, and it makes you think, if this is happening here, where else is it happening? You have to have a little bit of sympathy for people in the department, because obviously what has gone on in the past they have to work to, and we heard tonight admissions that maps are wrong, that sort of thing, and yet they're legally bound to follow them. So of course it worries me about the area, but also for the Isle of Man as a whole, really.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
At 19 minutes before 6, Ben McCree departed Heysham at 17 minutes past 2. She's just going astern onto the link span in the harbour now. In Douglas will be leaving this evening at 7:45, arriving in Heysham at 11:30. Overnight departure 2:15, back to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. High-speed craft Manannan left Douglas at 27 minutes to 4. She'll be into Liverpool in the next 25 minutes or so. Leaving this evening at 8 o'clock, departing and getting back to Douglas at about 11:15 now. Tomorrow morning, the big day, 7:15, Manannan heads to Liverpool. 8:45, the motor vessel Manxman, our new pride and joy of the steam packet fleet, casts off and heads from Douglas to Heysham at 8:45.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
A teenage boy who suffered severe and life-changing head injuries during a car crash 18 months ago has surpassed expectations and could be home in time for his birthday. Lockie Kirk was airlifted to Aintree Hospital for treatment after the incident near Peel in January of last year. His father, Dan, is hoping to bring him home for a break and then permanently when their house has been appropriately modified.
Plans have gone in for disabled living accommodation adjoining our house, so we are looking to put, the plans have gone in for a small extension which will give Lockie downstairs living, a wet room, a bedroom, lounge bedroom, and be able to access our sitting room and our kitchen. So we're calling it Ballalockie, and we're hoping to be able to start that as soon as the plans are passed. We're not short of people's offers for help, plumbing, electrics and building generally. We're looking for a quantity surveyor that could actually perhaps help us quantify what we need in our build, and we're having a website built, so perhaps there could be like a wish list if we knew exactly how much plasterboard we needed. Perhaps if people wanted to buy a piece of plasterboard, they could go on the website and do that, which will be a massive help to us. And so that's what we're looking for at the moment. I think Lockie's positivity has just generally helped us as a family get through it. He's a true fighter. He's not complaining. He's apologising for what's happened, and I tell him there's no need to apologise. It's just an accident. It's happened, and we've just got to get on with it now. But he's such a kind, lovely boy, and he's got some great friends. We just feel very privileged to have the support of his friends and the Manx public. He's so desperate for a visit home, and it's only going to be for a week. We just need him home for a visit. His friends need to see him, and his family need to see him. He needs to come home.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 16 minutes before 6, infrastructure giant Balfour Beatty reported a solid first-half performance today, particularly in its earnings-based business, as it remained on target to meet its full-year expectations. Financially, the firm said a £150 million share buyback was set to be finalised in the fourth quarter, while it had committed to distributing a total of £58 million in dividends this year, with a dividend for the first half sustained at 3.5p per share. there. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Vietnamese electrical vehicle maker VinFast's stock market valuation has vaulted above Ford and General Motors in the United States on its first day of trading. Shares in the firm, which is yet to make a profit, closed above $37, that's £29 each in their New York stock debut. That gave VinFast a stock market valuation of $85 billion, much higher than Ford's $48 billion and General Motors' $46 billion. This comes as motor industry giants and newer manufacturers fight for a slice of the booming EV market. The listing added around $39 billion to the wealth of VinFast chairman and founder Pham Nhat Vuong, who's already Vietnam's richest man. Regulatory filings show he controls 99% of the firm's outstanding shares, mostly through Vietnam's largest conglomerate, Vingroup JSC.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European markets were mixed as investors assess UK inflation data. The pound gained after data showed the UK core inflation stayed strong in July. Gold clawed higher on a weaker dollar, and bond yields recovering some ground after retreating below the $1,900 level in the last session following robust US economic data. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall. At the close in London, the FTSE 100 down almost 0.5% at 7,356. The DAX in Frankfurt closed up almost 0.1% up at 15,781. Currently New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial up 0.25%, 35,028. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index down 0.25% at 13,594. And in Chicago, the S&P 500 is up 0.07% at 4,440. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling is trading at $1 27.4 cents, €1 16.9 cents, and 24 South African rand 31.7 cents. In commodities, gold's up barely 0.05% at $1,901 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude is down almost 0.4% at $84.70.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you're paying monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future for a house or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Members of the Royal College of Nursing have been travelling around the Isle of Man today to raise awareness of their ongoing pay dispute with the Manx government and poor staffing levels they say they face on a daily basis. Starting this morning at Nobles Hospital, they went off by bus to Ramsey, Peel and Castletown, and Lewis Foster followed them.
Handing out leaflets and speaking to passers-by, the first stage of today's campaign got underway outside Nobles Hospital. On the 25th of July, nurses went on strike and further action remains on the table. So what's today about? Kate is the ward sister on day procedures.
I'm taking part today to try and just raise awareness with the public really as to why we feel we need to go on strike.
What do you think some of the misconceptions are about why you're undertaking these campaigns?
I think the message that's got out that we're asking for 15% is definitely a misconception. We did ask for 15% originally, which we have had some of that. We're not asking for another 15%. We're asking for the difference to be paid.
So that's taking into account the inflation over the years and everything like that?
And the fact that we've been behind inflation for a long time.
I also spoke with Pam Makin, who's lead nurse for critical care.
Post-COVID, my department lost 25% of staff because they decided to move because of the pressures and stresses, and also had 25% of staff reduce their hours down. So that in itself, it's taken a long time to try and recruit staff into the post. However, in our area, which is a specialist area, they need to have a set skill set, and then we're actually having to develop them, which adds more pressure to the workload.
And finally, Steph, a senior healthcare, showed me the sheer volume of text messages they get daily calling out for more staff to come in and fill the wards.
You know, if you're coming into work and you have a look and you see so many text messages coming through and you see that your ward is short-staffed, that absolute fear of going, oh my God, I'm going to come into a short-staffed ward, I don't know what I'm going to walk into. But, you know, we've had reports that ED have been under extreme pressure, so we have been admitting patients and they're, you know, dotted across the hospital. So it does bring dread and fear into you.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio Sport.
Fast am I, Rob Pritchard?
Fast am I. Good evening. Starting with motorsport, and TT rider Davey Todd is set to ride for the Milwaukee BMW Motorrad team at next year's TT races. The Yorkshireman makes the move after a 2-year spell with the Malenko by Paget's motorcycles outfit, with Todd confirming at the end of last month he had parted ways with them following the Armoy Road races. Todd took his first TT podium and was crowned British Superstock champion in 2022. This year, however, saw him endure a challenging TT, where he was unable to add to his podium tally as he battled illness during race week. Meanwhile, the Milwaukee BMW Motorrad team was absent from this year's TT. They had been due to compete with 16-time winner Ian Hutchinson, but had to withdraw from track duties after Hutchinson had his racing licence revoked as part of standard protocol after suffering a stroke earlier this year. Todd's new deal means he also joins his new team for the final 2 rounds of the British Superbike Championship this season, before he rides their M1000RR machine at TT24 in the Superbike, Superstock and Senior classes. Speaking about the move, Todd is describing it as a massive opportunity and a properly exciting time. And in athletics, Corin Leeming and Becky Pate were the winners during round 3 of this year's No Rest for the Wicked series in the north of the island last night. The Ramsey 10K was the latest challenge, with Leeming winning the men's and overall race in a time of 34 minutes 6 seconds to make it a hat-trick of victories already this week and remaining on course to repeat his clean sweep of wins in 2022. Mark Berman took second spot in the men's contest, with Charlie Swales completing the top 3. Meanwhile, Pate took top spot in the women's race in 40 minutes 20 seconds, whilst Becky Watson took second, with third going to Jess Bryan. Pate remains top of the women's half-marathon standings as all competitors prepare for the next event tonight, the Killer Mile, taking place on Douglas Head.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound, the 5:25 Loganair from Manchester is delayed, being in the next 5-10 minutes or so at Ronaldsway. The 10-8 Loganair from London City's on time. The returning patient transfer Loganair from Liverpool. The 5-8 is on time, but oh dear. The 25-9 EasyJet from London Gatwick won't be in until 10:15 tonight. Outbound, the 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool is delayed until 6:25, and the 9 outbound EasyJet to London Gatwick won't be departing until 11:15 tonight. On the roads, temporary lights on Queen Street, Castletown between the Parade and Farrants Way for work on the pavements. In Derby, the Ballymena Road's got phase closures for that water main replacement. Garth Road near Foxdale is closed between the Tosselby Road and the Foxdale Road for bridge replacement work. East Quay and Peel are still closed between the House of Manannan and the Road Bridge for work on the pavements. In Douglas, temporary lights on Victoria Road at Falconcliffe Terrace Junction for water main work, and York Road's closed for resurfacing between Woodburn Road and Ballaquail Road. Hillside Avenue in Douglas closed until the middle of June next year for adjacent office window replacement. In Farm Hill, Annika Road and Cushiock Road closed in phases for resurfacing. In Onchan, there are temporary lights on Governors Road between Summerhill and Blackberry Lane for patching work. In Bulgham, temporary lights on the Coast Road. They're doing some wall repairs. And in Mackall, still got those lights on the Coast Road at Hibernia for telegraph pole replacement. Remember, the MGP starts this Sunday, the 20th. The Mountain Road is open to two-way traffic throughout the period. Closure times, well, this coming Sunday, it's closed between midday 45, no later than 6. On a Monday, 6 p.m. until no later than 9.
H&HMotorcycles.im for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646. Update. Brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
Thanks for tuning in to Manx Radio. This is Update every weekday evening between 5:30 and 6. 30 minutes of nothing but news from the Isle of Man. And, of course, you can enjoy it not only live on AM, FM and DAB across the Isle of Man, but it's also available as a podcast. Go to manxradio.com and choose your favourite podcast provider. Horse tram timetables for 2023 were decided before the final itineraries for visiting cruise ships were known. Get the picture? Here's Tessa Hawley.
My Isle of Man Transport has responded to questions about why the service wasn't running on Monday, the 14th of August, the day the largest cruise liner to ever visit the island anchored in Douglas Bay. The new Stadnam had more than 2,000 passengers on board and was the 23rd cruise ship to visit Manx shores this year. Passengers were able to take in a number of excursions, but didn't get the chance to experience a ride along the promenade. This was due to the fact the horse trams are operating a slightly reduced timetable from those which were in place prior to the promenade refurbishment project, and that's due to operational reasons. Isle of Man Transport adds that this helps reduce costs and gives hard-working trammers a well-deserved day off. The government division has told Manx Radio it was proud to host passengers on the Isle of Man Steam Railway, Manx Electric Railway and the Snaefell Mountain Railway, as well as on the buses instead. This, it says, allowed large numbers of visitors to take the opportunity to explore the island using the variety of transport services on offer. And the ship's visit certainly proved a talking point on social media. Barbara told Manx Radio the trams she'd seen passing her house were rammed, adding they'd been like this all summer. Paige, who was on board the ship, said she'd loved the island, adding thank you for sharing it with us. Fellow passenger Brian was in agreement, adding there's so much more to see here. The wife and I would love to come back for a week. Thanks for the hospitality and sights. Whilst John added, we are aboard. Great ship, great visit to the Isle of Man. We'll be back for a longer stay. And Margaret thanked people for making her welcome, adding, we are inspired to come and spend a longer time on the beautiful Isle of Man.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Chanel Suku, producer Rhiann Evans. After the news at 6 o'clock, it's Wednesday, so it's our arts programme, Spotlight with Howie Kane. Chris Kinley with the greatest hits at 6:30. Wednesday's opera with Ernie Thorne at 9 o'clock, and I'm back tomorrow at 5:30.
WINT